Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. On Monday, Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft will be in an appeals court to defend his summary of an abortion rights amendment. Ashcroft is repealing a ruling a month ago that his ballot language is biased. Rudy Keller is Deputy Director of the Missouri Independent. He talked to Ashcroft recently about all of this and also is following these proceedings. Rudy, well, welcome. Good to talk to you.
Good to be here, Steve. How are you today?
All right, we're good. First, does Ashcroft plan to assist his legal team during this hearing? Do you know?
Well, was one of the unusual things that I found when I was reviewing what was going to happen next Monday in Kansas City, and it was that Jay Ashcroft is actually now his own lawyer for this. Not alone. He still has representation through the Missouri Attorney General's office, and he wouldn't say exactly what role he's taking as an attorney. He spent most of his adult life as an engineer and graduated law school in 2008. So he admitted that he hasn't had a lot of courtroom experience. So if we see him actually participating in arguments, it may be during the rebuttal phase when it's a shorter period and you can keep focused on one or two issues that you may want to leave with the judges as the final impression.
So can you take us through the phrasing Ashcroft used that led to last month's ruling against him?
Yeah, so there were 11 abortion rights initiatives proposed for the Missouri Constitution back in March. And on the various ones, just about every word that Ashcroft wrote as the ballot language summary, which is something that you have to have before you can go seek signatures, was called into question by the judge. For example, he said that they would allow for dangerous, unregulated, and unrestricted abortions from conception to live birth without requiring a medical license or potentially being subject to medical malpractice. And the judge found problems with every word in that sentence. Nullify longstanding Missouri law protecting the right to life, including but not limited to partial birth abortion. The only words there that the judge didn't comment on were including but, and so forth and so on all the way through. So the judge decided that they needed a complete rewrite, that they needed to say that they would protect women's access and ability to make their own reproductive health care decisions, including for abortion, because these initiatives also make it clear that the legislature could not make various forms of contraceptive medication illegal, some of which they've attempted to do by cutting off Missouri Medicaid patients to pills that would allow, some are taken before potential conception. Some are immediately after sexual intercourse to prevent implantation of the conceived ovum in the uterus. So these are things that the judge said, well, you can't just leave that stuff out when you tell people what it's supposed to do.
So remind us where Missouri stands now after Roe versus Wade was overturned, and then if this ballot initiative passes, then what would we be looking at?
Well, right now, the only people who are allowed to seek a legal abortion in Missouri are women in the midst of a medical emergency. And the exact phrasing in the law is that a serious risk of substantial and irreversible physical impairment of a major bodily function if it's not actually likely to kill them if they were to carry the child to term or further than the abortion. So this means that there are very, very few abortions being happening in Missouri, and Missouri women who want to have an abortion for whatever reason must travel to a state like Kansas or Illinois in order to obtain the care that they want.
So ultimately, many appeals cases like this one aren't decided overnight. And then if it lands in front of the Missouri Supreme Court, will supporters be able to get this on the ballot in time?
Well, the if we're thinking about how what is essentially, this is a faster process in the courts than if you and I were suing each other and we thought that the circuit court had made a wrong decision. There's a lot longer time frame on those, but the Court of Appeals will hear it Monday. You might get a ruling in a couple of weeks or maybe even sooner. That'll be appealed to the Missouri Supreme Court. They'll set a schedule, and so sometime in December is probably when you have a final version of this language. Then your clock is ticking until May 8th. So really it's a function of money and people. Do you have enough money to hire enough people to go to enough places to gather the signatures? There is a initiative likely on sports wagering that will but they're not planning to start and decide which one they're going to do until December. So the major league sports teams and have consultants who are telling them that, yes, if you decide in December, there's enough time, if you're willing to put enough money behind it, to get it done. And so that's the question for abortion rights supporters in Missouri would be, can they raise enough money? Much of it is going to come from outside the state, likely, that would pay because this is not a volunteer grassroots effort ever on any initiative anymore. Every initiative that is successful spends millions of dollars hiring people to gather signatures.
So let's talk a little bit about the politics of all this. Not that we haven't been already, but Ashcroft's candidacy for governor and the timing.
Well, Ashcroft has the sole endorsement in a three-way Republican primary for governor from Missouri Right to Life. That makes him a favorite of the anti-abortion side of the party, and that will certainly benefit him. The question is, will it benefit him in August of next year when the primary is occurring? And even more so, how does it play out if it does make the ballot and it would be on the November of 2024 ballot? The Right to Life referendum in 2018 brought about 300,000 Democrats to the polls who otherwise wouldn't have voted in the primary. So that's kind of the magnitude of what a good motivating initiative can do to the public. It can bring hundreds of thousands of voters who may not otherwise vote to the polls, and that changes the dynamic in the election.
This is a conversation I think that will be continued, especially after the hearing. Rudy, we want to get back to you for an update on this. Thanks very much for joining us. Rudy Keller with the Missouri Independent.